The planet shimmered under a pale, silver light. Ice stretched as far as the eyes could see, rising into jagged mountains that reflected the faint glow of the sun, weak and distant through the thick, icy clouds. It was a beautiful planet, but one that carried danger hidden in its cold embrace. Snow whipped across the plains in soft, sharp gusts, and the wind carried a silence so complete that even the tiniest noises seemed deafening. Liara moved quickly over the ice, her feet gliding across the frozen surface with practiced ease. She carried her child, Keel, cradled carefully against her chest. His small body was soft and vulnerable, his bright eyes wide and full of wonder even as the cold nipped at them. Liara's own skin, delicate and shimmering with a pale blue hue, barely felt the frost. Her species was built for cold, but she could sense the danger around them. The solar flare had been sudden, a bright streak that had burned across their sky. It had forced her to act quickly. She had no choice but to use the ancient technique passed down for generations, the cryogenic freeze. Liara had learned it from her mother, and her mother had learned it from hers. It was a dangerous technique, meant to preserve life when nothing else could. But it was not meant for mistakes. One wrong calculation, one hesitation, and it could be the end. Liara's heart beat steadily as she reached the small cave that would serve as the temporary shelter. Inside, the walls were smooth, carved naturally by ice and wind over countless years. The faint warmth of the rocks was comforting but fleeting. Keel shivered slightly in her arms, and Liara whispered softly to him, her voice almost musical in its tone. "We will be safe soon, little one." "Just a little longer," Keel cooed, responding in the alien language of his kind, a series of soft chimes and clicks that echoed lightly against the cave walls. Liara smiled, pressing a gentle kiss against his head. His hair glimmered faintly, a soft golden hue that contrasted beautifully with the silver of the ice. She placed him carefully on a smooth stone platform at the center of the cave. The surface had been prepared earlier, polished with care and enchanted with the energy required for the freeze. Liara took a deep breath, her lungs filling with the icy air that stung lightly at the back of her throat. She activated the small crystalline device she carried on a chain around her neck. It began to glow softly, humming with energy that was almost alive. Liara knelt beside her child, her hands hovering just above his small form. She whispered softly again, this time a blessing in her own language, a prayer for safety and hope. The device pulsed brighter, and the ice around Keel began to shimmer, forming a thin, protective shell that sparkled like glass. It was delicate and strong at the same time, a shield of frozen energy that would protect him from the solar flare above. Liara's hands shook slightly as she placed herself beside him. Her eyes met his, and she spoke once more, words full of love and promise. "I will stay with you always. Nothing will touch us. Wait for the warmth. Wait for the sun to return to our hearts." The wind outside continued to howl, but inside the crystalline shells, everything was quiet, safe, and still. Outside, far above the icy plains, a human research ship drifted silently in orbit. Its sleek surface reflected the faint light of the sun, and inside, a team of humans watched their monitors carefully. They had been studying the planet for months, scanning the surface for signs of life or unusual activity. When a faint thermal signature flickered on their sensors, they leaned closer, curiosity lighting their faces. Dr. Mara Solis, the lead scientist aboard the Odyssey, frowned. "That reading, it's inconsistent with anything we've cataloged. The energy signature is fluctuating in ways we can't explain." She adjusted the controls, narrowing her eyes at the monitor. "It's coming from the ice plains south of the northern ridge. Someone should check it out, carefully. The planet is unstable, one wrong step and—" When the pod finally touched down, the quiet was almost overwhelming. Outside, the landscape stretched endlessly, sparkling like a frozen ocean. Eli and Mara stepped carefully onto the ice. Their suits kept them warm, their sensors constantly scanning. The thermal reading that had drawn them here now glowed faintly on their wrist devices, indicating a small but steady source of life. Mara's brow furrowed as she approached the location. Something about it was unusual, almost intentional. Then she saw it. A crystalline formation gleaming softly in the dim light. It looked like a sculpture made of glass, delicate and perfect. Mara approached slowly, her instincts as a scientist and as a human telling her to be careful. She reached out, hand trembling slightly, and touched the surface. The ice pulsed faintly, almost as if it were alive. Eli leaned closer, his voice low. "Is it alive?" Inside, two small figures were encased in shimmering shells. One was tiny, clearly a child, delicate and golden-haired. The other was taller, more elegant, with faintly blue-tinged skin that caught the light. They were motionless, but the energy readings confirmed life. Mara felt a surge of both excitement and compassion. "We have to help them," she whispered. "We can't leave them like this." Mara and Eli worked together to gently warm the ice, using carefully controlled energy pulses that would not harm the life inside. The ice glimmered and shimmered as it began to soften, slowly at first, then with increasing fluidity. The taller figure inside stirred slightly, a hand moving with a delicate motion. Mara's breath caught. "Look," Eli said softly. "They're waking up." "You're safe." Keel, the child, looked up at the human and cooed softly, a sound of curiosity and recognition. Liara's heart surged. She realized that the warmth she had been waiting for, the protection she had hoped would come, was here. Not from the sun, not from the planet, but from these beings who radiated care and intelligence. The ice around them melted further, revealing their forms fully. Liara slowly rose, holding her child close. Mara stepped back slightly, giving her space, yet keeping her hand extended in a gesture of peace. For a moment the wind howled outside, the planet's icy surface unyielding, but inside the small clearing there was a sense of safety and trust that transcended all barriers. Liara's eyes met Mara's again. In that moment words were not needed. Gratitude, relief, and the beginning of understanding passed silently between them. The humans had brought warmth to a frozen world, not with fire or force, but with patience, empathy, and ingenuity. And in return, the aliens had begun to awaken to the possibility that not all beings beyond their own kind were threats. The first part of their story ended with the ice fading around them, revealing the beauty and fragility of two lives that had been preserved against impossible odds. And as the cold wind continued to sweep across the planet, Liara held her child close, feeling for the first time in what felt like eternity that they were truly safe. The ice had melted enough to reveal the true shapes of Liara and her child, Keel. Their forms were delicate yet graceful, glowing faintly with an inner light that seemed to reflect the cold planet's own brilliance. Mara watched carefully, fascinated, yet careful not to overwhelm them. She could feel the intelligence in their gaze, the awareness in their movements, and the curiosity shining from Keel's small eyes. Liara stood slowly, her limbs moving with the elegance of someone perfectly adapted to their environment. The ice had preserved them, but the sudden warmth from the humans was new, unfamiliar. She blinked, adjusting to the sensation of being thawed and alive in a strange new way. The energy she had preserved within herself and her child had kept them alive, but the human warmth was different. It was gentle, almost comforting in a way she had never experienced. Keel wiggled in her arms, chittering softly. He reached for Mara with tiny hands, drawn to the warmth of her body, the rhythm of her heartbeat beneath her suit. Mara's face softened with a smile as she crouched slightly, extending her hand carefully. "It's okay, little one," she said softly. "You're safe, we're here to help." Her species communicated through subtle gestures, sounds, and energy pulses that humans could not fully perceive. Yet she sensed something in Mara's presence that was sincere. She understood instinctively that the humans were not predators. Her pulse slowed, her tension easing, though she remained watchful. The world beyond the cave, cold and dangerous, could not touch them here. Slowly, Liara stepped forward, lowering her child toward Mara. Keel's bright eyes met Mara's with wonder, and he made a sound that seemed like laughter, a chime-like tone that echoed softly against the walls of the cave. Mara reached out gently, letting Keel touch her hand, feel the warmth of a human. Liara watched, fascinated. This act, so simple, seemed to bridge a gap that words could not. "See," Mara whispered, "nothing to fear." She let Keel press his small fingers against her gloved hand. The child's body vibrated slightly, as if recognizing life in a new way. Liara could feel it too, the resonance of human warmth, steady and life-affirming. It was unlike the heat of the sun or the warmth of the planet's core. It was something entirely different, something that seemed to seep into their very being. Eli, observing quietly, stepped closer. He had always been fascinated by alien life, but seeing it in this way, the vulnerability, the trust forming so quickly, was humbling. "They respond to us," he said softly, almost to himself. "It's like they understand." She sensed no threat, only curiosity and intelligence. She began to communicate in soft tones, a series of chimes and clicks that filled the cave. Mara's translator device hummed softly, processing the alien sounds into a form humans could understand. "Mother, child, safe," the device translated, its voice mechanical but clear. Mara's heart leapt at the words. Liara nodded subtly, confirming that the message was correct. She held Keel close, feeling the life inside him pulse and grow stronger with the human warmth surrounding them. The ice had preserved them, but it was this warmth that would allow them to fully awaken. Mara and Eli worked carefully to stabilize the environment. Using small, precise instruments, they adjusted the temperature, humidity, and energy flow inside the cave. The humans did not rush. They understood the fragility of the beings before them. Liara watched each action with fascination, noting the care and intelligence of these strange creatures. Time passed slowly. Outside, the wind howled, but inside, the space was quiet and calm. Liara began to move more freely, exploring the cave with cautious curiosity. She touched the walls, feeling the ice's smooth surfaces, and then glanced at Mara, her gaze filled with unspoken questions. Mara smiled gently, understanding instinctively. "You can touch everything here," she said. "Nothing will hurt you. Take your time." As the hours passed, Liara began to show signs of recovery beyond the physical. Her posture became stronger, her movements more fluid. She began to mimic some of the humans' gestures, simple acts like tilting her head, raising a hand, or nodding in acknowledgement. Mara watched carefully, noting the intelligence and adaptability displayed by the alien mother. "This is incredible," Mara whispered to Eli. "They're learning from us from simple actions. Their minds are faster than we imagined." "Your warmth helps." She realized that these humans were different in ways that could change the balance of understanding between species. Keel, now more confident, moved closer to Mara, mimicking her movements and observing her gestures. Liara watched with a mixture of pride and amazement. Her child was not only surviving but learning, absorbing the warmth and intelligence of these humans like a sponge. It was a moment that filled her with hope, hope she had not felt in a long time. The day passed, and Mara and Eli continued their careful work. They provided nourishment suitable for the aliens, warm liquids that mirrored their own biology, designed to ease the transition from frozen stasis to full consciousness. Liara accepted the food cautiously at first, then more willingly as she realized the humans' intentions were pure. Keel took the nourishment with curious excitement, his small hands trembling with energy as he explored the new sensations. Liara began to communicate more actively. Through a combination of gestures, chimes, and the translator, she expressed her gratitude and amazement. She told the humans of the solar flare that had forced her to freeze herself and her child, of the fear she had felt, and of the hope she now held seeing the warmth that humans could provide. Mara listened attentively, realizing that this story was more than survival. It was a lesson in the power of care, patience, and empathy. Even as Liara recovered, the planet outside remained harsh and unforgiving. The wind howled, and the ice creaked under its own weight. But inside the small area of the cave, life had taken hold again. The humans and aliens existed in a quiet harmony, learning from each other, sharing warmth, and discovering that despite differences, understanding and trust could flourish. Liara's perspective began to shift. She had once believed that survival depended solely on knowledge of the environment and physical resilience. Now she realized that another form of strength existed, one that humans embodied effortlessly. Their warmth, patience, and willingness to care for another life, even when it was alien and unknown, was a force that could save lives where raw power could not. As the first part of the day ended, Liara held Keel close and looked at Mara. Her eyes, large and luminous, conveyed a depth of emotion that words could not fully capture. Trust, gratitude, awe, hope. Mara returned the gaze, understanding without needing translation. This moment was the foundation of a relationship that would define the next chapter of both their lives. Night came quickly on the planet, the sun dipping low beneath the icy horizon. The wind grew sharper, the cold more biting. Yet inside the cave, a small fire of warmth burned, not from flames, but from life itself. Liara rested beside her child, feeling the continued presence of human care and warmth. Keel slept peacefully, small hands clutching at her arm, and for the first time in what felt like ages, she allowed herself to feel completely safe. Mara and Eli prepared their equipment for the night, ensuring the cave remained stable and the temperature steady. They had witnessed something extraordinary today, 2 lives saved, trust built, and the first steps toward understanding across the vast gap of species. Mara felt a quiet pride. Humanity's ability to care, to innovate, and to connect had made the impossible possible. Liara, observing the humans as they moved quietly, realized something profound. The galaxy was vast, filled with beings she did not understand, yet these humans, fragile, warm, intelligent, had brought her and her child back from the brink. They had demonstrated a form of strength that transcended muscles or technology. It was the strength of the heart, of intellect, and of empathy combined. As sleep overtook them, Liara pressed her child close, feeling the rhythm of life and warmth around her. She knew this was only the beginning. The humans were extraordinary, and the lessons she and Keel would learn from them could shape the future, not just of their survival, but of their understanding of life itself. And outside the cave, the icy planet remained unchanged, silent and vast. But within, life had returned, fragile yet strong, and the bond between alien and human had begun. The next morning, the icy world outside glimmered under the faint light of a distant sun. Liara stood at the entrance of the cave, her eyes scanning the horizon. The vast plains of silver stretched endlessly, and the jagged mountains rose like frozen sentinels. The cold wind blew across her face, but she felt a strange sense of security. Humans had shown her warmth that no frost could erase. Keel toddled beside her, wobbling slightly on his delicate legs. His golden hair caught the weak sunlight, and he giggled, a soft chime-like sound that echoed lightly across the cave entrance. Mara knelt beside him, letting the child touch her hand, feel the steady pulse of her warmth, and learn about this strange, kind species. "You're doing great," Mara said softly. "Careful on the ice, little one." She noticed how humans moved with caution but also confidence, how they used intelligence and observation rather than force. It fascinated her. Humans had not only saved them from the freeze, but now they were teaching them another kind of strength, the power to adapt, to learn, and to cooperate. The day began with small explorations. Mara and Eli showed Liara and Keel how to use basic equipment to measure the temperature of the ice, detect small changes in the environment, and even harness energy from the faint solar radiation. Liara absorbed the lessons quickly. Her species valued intelligence and learning, but humans applied it in ways she had never seen. Their curiosity was not just survival, it was playful, thoughtful, and precise. Keel tried to mimic the human gestures, picking up a small energy sensor and tapping it carefully. He watched Mara's reactions, learning through imitation. Mara smiled, encouraging him. "That's it, Keel, you're a quick learner." Her child was adapting, learning not only to survive, but to engage with another species. It was a joy she had not felt in a long time. At the same time, she could feel her own energy growing stronger, the warmth from the humans settling into her very being. She realized that human warmth was more than physical. It was confidence, intelligence, and patience combined. It allowed life to flourish in ways that mere survival could not. As the day continued, Mara suggested they explore further from the cave. Liara hesitated at first. The world outside was dangerous, the ice unpredictable, and the wind sharp. But she trusted Mara, and she could sense that the humans were aware of the risks and would guide them safely. With careful steps, they moved across the plains, Keel occasionally running ahead and then turning back to ensure his mother was close. The planet was full of wonders. Crystalline formations jutted from the ice like frozen flowers, glowing faintly in the dim sunlight. Small creatures, adapted to the cold, scuttled across the surface, their movements quick and precise. Liara observed them, comparing their adaptations to those of her own species. She realized that survival alone was not enough. Understanding the environment, learning from it, and using creativity to interact with it were even more powerful. At one point, they reached a small frozen lake. Its surface was smooth, reflecting the distant mountains and sky like a mirror. Liara knelt, letting her fingers touch the surface. The ice felt solid yet alive, vibrating faintly under her touch. She looked at Mara. "How do you humans know how to navigate such a world?" she asked, her words carefully translated through the device. Mara smiled. "We observe, we learn, and we think ahead. We plan, but we also adapt when things change. That's how we survive, through understanding, not just strength." As they continued their exploration, the humans showed the aliens how to build small shelters using the natural ice formations. They used minimal energy, relying on reflective surfaces and careful positioning to trap warmth. Liara was fascinated by the efficiency of it all. The humans taught without haste, explaining each step and encouraging questions. Keel eagerly helped, stacking small blocks of ice, learning the balance needed to prevent collapse. Mara guided him with a gentle hand, letting him discover solutions himself. By midday, a small problem arose. A portion of the ice near a ridge began to shift, a minor tremor caused by the natural settling of the planet. Liara's instincts told her to pull Keel back immediately, but she noticed Mara calmly assessing the situation, calculating the safest path. Mara extended her hand. "Follow me carefully, we'll get through this together." The tremor passed, and the ice settled without incident. Liara looked at Mara with awe. Humans were not only brave, but clever. Their calmness and thoughtfulness had turned a potential danger into a learning experience. The group paused near a crystalline outcrop, taking a break from their journey. Mara handed Keel a small piece of energy-rich food designed to nourish both humans and aliens. Keel examined it curiously before taking a small bite. Liara encouraged him, and he ate eagerly, his energy returning in small bursts of chittering laughter. Liara allowed herself a moment to observe the humans. They were strange and fascinating creatures. Their bodies were fragile compared to hers, yet their minds were quick, inventive, and warm. They carried no pretense, no arrogance, only determination and care. She realized that this was a kind of strength she had never encountered. It was subtle, pervasive, and far-reaching. The humans, in turn, began to understand the aliens more deeply. Mara noted the subtle expressions in Liara's movements, the tiny changes in Keel's vocalizations. She realized that these beings were highly intelligent and highly sensitive. Their awareness of the world was different but equally profound. Through careful observation and patient interaction, the humans and aliens were forming a bridge of understanding, one that relied not on force but on empathy, curiosity, and shared purpose. As the afternoon wore on, Liara began to teach the humans about her species. She demonstrated subtle energy pulses, small gestures that conveyed emotion and thought without words. Mara and Eli watched with fascination, attempting to mimic the gestures and absorb the lessons. Keel joined in, his laughter echoing softly as he attempted to communicate through the clicks and chimes. In return, the humans shared their knowledge of the planet's climate, ice formations, and the faint energy flows that pulsed beneath the surface. Liara observed these lessons closely, understanding how the humans used observation, analysis, and creativity to navigate and survive. She realized that their methods, combined with her species' natural abilities, could allow them to thrive in ways that neither could do alone. The day ended with the group returning to the cave. Liara held Keel close as they entered the warm, safe space. The child yawned, curling into her arms, his small form glowing faintly in the dim light. Mara and Eli ensured the environment remained stable, carefully monitoring temperature and energy flow. Liara observed the humans' careful attention and felt a deep sense of gratitude. As night fell, the icy plains outside seemed harsher, the wind sharper, yet inside the cave, life flourished. Liara whispered softly to her child, her words full of love and wonder. Keel cooed in response, pressing close to her. She felt the warmth of the humans surrounding them, a steady, comforting presence that filled the space with hope and possibility. Mara sat quietly nearby, watching the interaction. She realized that what they were witnessing was more than survival. It was the beginning of something extraordinary. The humans' intelligence, empathy, and patience had not only saved 2 lives, but had begun to form a bond that could change the course of understanding between species. Liara's mind reflected on the lessons of the day. She had once believed that strength was physical, that survival depended on resilience and adaptation to harsh conditions. Now she understood that another form of strength existed, a strength rooted in understanding, warmth, and intelligence. The humans had shown her that true power was not in force or fear, but in care, observation, and creativity. Keel stirred slightly in his sleep, and Liara pressed a soft kiss to his head. She looked at Mara and Eli, who were quietly preparing for the night, and realized that these humans had given them more than life. They had given them hope. Hope that life could flourish, that connections could be built, and that understanding across species was possible. Outside, the icy planet remained vast and silent. Yet inside the small cave, warmth and life pulsed steadily. Liara and her child had been preserved by ice, but they had been awakened by something greater, human warmth, empathy, and ingenuity. As sleep overtook them, Liara allowed herself to feel fully safe for the first time in what felt like eternity. She held Keel close, sensing the strength that came not only from her species but from the humans who had entered their lives. This was only the beginning, she knew. The bond they had formed, fragile yet strong, would guide them through challenges and discoveries yet to come. And as the night deepened, a quiet understanding settled over the cave. Two species, different yet similar in their intelligence and care, had begun to learn from each other. Together they would face the mysteries of this icy world, and perhaps change their understanding of life itself. The following morning, Liara awoke to a soft, shimmering light that filtered through the crystalline cave walls. Keel stirred beside her, stretching his small limbs and letting out a joyful chime. The warmth that humans had brought into their lives had become a constant, steady presence, one that reassured both mother and child. Liara rose, holding Keel close, and stepped toward the cave entrance. Outside, the icy plains glimmered like a vast ocean of glass, stretching endlessly beneath the faint light of the distant sun. Mara and Eli were already outside, examining the terrain. Mara turned as Liara approached, her eyes lighting up with a smile. "Good morning," she said softly, ready to explore a little more. The humans had introduced her to many new ideas: how to navigate the planet's ice, how to use the energy devices to detect subtle changes, and how warmth and care could preserve life in ways she had never imagined. Today, she wanted to learn more, to see how humans solved problems when the world itself seemed to resist. They moved carefully across the plains, Keel walking beside Liara while Mara guided them. The planet was alive in subtle ways. Tiny energy currents pulsed beneath the ice, and crystalline formations rose unpredictably, creating obstacles and pathways alike. Liara observed closely, noting how humans approached the environment with careful attention. They did not force their way, they adapted, analyzed, and moved with purpose. As they approached a large ridge, a low hum vibrated beneath their feet. Liara paused, sensing the movement of ice below. Mara immediately knelt, placing her hands on the surface and using a small sensor to measure vibrations. "The ridge is unstable," she said calmly. "We need to cross it carefully, one step at a time." The ridge presented a delicate challenge. A small section of ice shifted, revealing a hidden cavity beneath. Liara paused, her mind analyzing the situation. Humans approached problems differently. They did not simply avoid obstacles. They considered every factor, calculated risks, and adjusted their actions based on observation. She realized that this method, combined with her species' natural awareness, could allow them to navigate even the most treacherous terrain. Mara instructed them to move slowly, guiding each step with precision. Liara followed, carefully adjusting her movements and teaching Keel to do the same. The child's confidence grew with every step, and Mara's quiet encouragement reinforced the lesson that intelligence and observation could overcome danger without fear. When they reached the top of the ridge, the view was breathtaking. The icy plains stretched endlessly, punctuated by distant crystalline mountains. Liara felt a sense of awe she had never experienced before. Her species valued the beauty of their world, but this human-assisted exploration revealed details she might have overlooked. Subtle energy flows, hidden patterns in the ice, and the way light reflected in ways that could indicate safe pathways. Keel ran ahead briefly, giggling as he explored the area. Liara called him back gently, reminding him to stay close. Mara watched the interaction, her heart warming at the evident trust forming between alien mother, child, and humans. It was remarkable, the way life could flourish when care, intelligence, and patience worked together. Suddenly, a faint crack echoed across the ridge. Liara froze, sensing movement beneath the ice. Mara immediately scanned the area, her sensors detecting a small shift in the underlying structure. "A minor ice tremor," she said. "Nothing catastrophic, but we need to reinforce our path." They used small devices that reflected energy and created temporary support for the ridge. Keel watched, fascinated, mimicking the human's gestures with small, clumsy hands. Liara encouraged him gently, proud of his curiosity and courage. Hours passed as they continued their exploration. The humans and aliens worked together seamlessly, learning from each other in ways that neither could have achieved alone. Mara taught Liara to read subtle changes in the ice, to anticipate shifts before they happened. Liara taught Mara and Eli to recognize energy patterns that indicated stability or danger. Keel absorbed everything with delight, his laughter and chimes punctuating the quiet rhythm of careful discovery. As the day progressed, they reached a vast crystalline field. Each formation shimmered with a faint energy pulse, creating a landscape that was both beautiful and delicate. Mara approached with caution, demonstrating to Liara how to step lightly, distributing weight carefully to avoid disturbing the fragile structures. Liara followed, noting how human intelligence combined patience with precision. It was a lesson in how life could thrive when challenges were met with thoughtfulness rather than force. Keel explored eagerly, running between the crystals and tapping lightly on the surfaces to see how they responded. Liara watched closely, ensuring he learned the importance of careful interaction. Mara guided him with patience, allowing him to discover consequences through observation. The child's laughter rang out, blending with the soft hum of energy from the crystalline formations. Suddenly, the wind shifted, stronger than before, sweeping across the field and threatening to destabilize some of the smaller crystals. Liara instinctively moved to shield Keel, but Mara had already deployed a small energy barrier to protect the area. The human's technology was precise and thoughtful, designed not to dominate but to assist and preserve. Liara was impressed. These beings combined intellect with empathy in ways her species had rarely encountered. After the wind subsided, Liara spoke in soft tones, the translator converting her words for Mara and Eli. "Your ways are gentle yet powerful. You do not force life to bend, you guide it to flourish. We learn, we adapt, and we help others thrive. It's not always easy, but it works." Liara encouraged him to explore, showing him that curiosity and careful observation could lead to discovery. As evening approached, the group began their journey back to the cave. Liara carried Keel part of the way, allowing him moments to run and explore before returning to her protective arms. Mara and Eli led the way, ensuring the path was safe and guiding the aliens with steady reassurance. The humans' calmness and intelligence made the journey not only safe but educational, reinforcing the lessons of the day. When they returned to the cave, Liara allowed herself a moment of reflection. The humans had shown them more than warmth. They had shown them how to navigate challenges with intelligence, patience, and creativity. They had turned potential danger into opportunity and discovery. Keel's eyes sparkled with excitement as he recounted his small adventures, and Liara felt a surge of pride and gratitude. Mara prepared a small area for rest, ensuring the environment remained stable and warm. She handed Keel a piece of nourishing food, and he ate eagerly, chattering softly as he shared his excitement. Liara watched, smiling, feeling the steady warmth of humans surrounding them. This warmth had become a part of their lives, a lifeline that went beyond physical survival. Liara spoke softly to Mara and Eli, her words translated through the device. "We have learned much from you today. Your patience, care, and intelligence, they give life strength. Your awareness, sensitivity, and understanding of energy, it helps us see the world differently." The child's small hands reached for her, and she pressed a gentle kiss to his head, marveling at the resilience and adaptability of both her species and the humans who had entered their lives. As they rested, Liara reflected on the lessons of the day. Humans were fragile in body compared to her species, but their minds were quick, inventive, and warm. They had faced challenges not with force, but with observation, creativity, and care. Their strength was subtle yet pervasive, and it had allowed her and her child to thrive in ways she had never imagined. Keel fell asleep, and Liara held him close, feeling the steady warmth of the humans and the life of the cave surrounding them. She realized that the bond they had formed was more than trust, it was understanding. Across species, across differences in biology and experience, they had discovered a shared strength, intelligence guided by empathy, creativity guided by care. Mara and Eli settled nearby, monitoring the cave's environment. They had witnessed something extraordinary, the beginning of a relationship that could change the understanding of life across species. The humans' warmth, patience, and intelligence had not only preserved life but had awakened it, teaching lessons that extended far beyond survival. Liara's mind drifted to the future. She imagined exploring this world further, learning more from the humans, and allowing her child to grow strong not just in body, but in understanding. The humans had shown her that life's true power came from connection, knowledge, and the willingness to help others flourish. Outside, the icy plains remained vast and silent. Yet inside the cave, life thrived, fragile yet strong, nurtured by warmth and intelligence. Liara pressed her child closer, knowing that this partnership, this understanding between humans and aliens, would guide them through challenges and discoveries yet to come. As sleep overtook them, Liara allowed herself to feel completely safe for the first time in what felt like eternity. She held Keel close, sensing the strength that came not only from her own species but from the humans who had entered their lives. Together, they had faced the dangers of the world and learned that intelligence, empathy, and careful observation could overcome obstacles without force. And as the night deepened, a quiet understanding settled over the cave. Two species, different yet connected by curiosity, care, and intelligence, had discovered the true power of collaboration. In the days to come, they would face new challenges, learn new lessons, and deepen a bond that would shape the future, not just of survival, but of understanding and hope across the galaxy. The sun barely rose above the icy horizon, casting a faint golden light across the planet. Liara stirred beside her child, Keel, who yawned and stretched, his small hands reaching toward the warmth of his mother. The cave was quiet, the soft hum of the environment keeping them safe, but today felt different. Today, they would venture beyond familiar grounds, guided by human knowledge and intuition. Mara and Eli were already preparing the equipment, adjusting sensors and monitoring devices to ensure the path ahead was safe. The humans' careful planning and foresight had become a source of reassurance for Liara. She had learned to trust them, not only in simple tasks, but in navigating the unpredictable, icy landscape that stretched endlessly before them. Liara held Keel close, feeling his tiny body vibrate with excitement. "Are you ready, little one?" she asked in soft chimes, which the translator converted for the humans. Keel responded with a cheerful trill, and Liara smiled, knowing he understood the importance of this day. It was not only a journey across the plains, but a step into a future shaped by collaboration and trust. They began walking together, Mara leading the way and Eli scanning the terrain ahead. The ice stretched in vast, glittering fields, punctuated by crystalline mountains that rose like frozen towers. Each step required careful observation. The humans had taught the aliens how to read subtle changes in the ice, how to detect hidden energy flows, and how to anticipate shifts that might threaten stability. Liara moved gracefully, following each instruction with precision, while Keel bounced along beside her, curious and fearless under her watchful eyes. As they approached a wide crevasse, the ground trembled faintly beneath them. Liara instinctively pulled Keel close, but Mara knelt immediately, scanning the fissure. "This crevasse is deep," she said calmly. "We need to find a safe crossing. Observation first, then action." She observed the patterns in the ice, the way the energy pulsed along its surface, and realized that a series of crystalline ridges nearby could form a natural bridge. She pointed them out to Mara. "Good observation," Mara said. "We'll use those step by step carefully." Liara guided Keel, showing him how to place his feet lightly, how to test the ice before committing his weight. Mara moved alongside them, offering encouragement, while Eli reinforced certain sections with subtle energy supports that maintained stability without harming the environment. Keel laughed as he discovered the sensation of balance, and Liara felt pride swell within her. Her child was learning not only to survive, but to thrive, guided by intelligence and patience rather than fear. On the other side, a vast expanse of crystalline plains stretched endlessly. Liara's eyes widened in awe. She had seen beauty before, but this was extraordinary. The light reflected from the ice in thousands of shades, and the energy flowing beneath the surface created a symphony of shimmering patterns. Mara explained how the humans interpreted the subtle energy currents, using them to anticipate changes in the ice and find safe paths. Liara absorbed every detail, fascinated by the humans' ingenuity. Keel wandered briefly, exploring the patterns in the ice, his small hands pressing gently against the crystals. Liara watched closely, feeling both caution and wonder. Mara knelt beside the child, guiding him with gentle words. "See how the energy flows here? It shows us which paths are safe." Keel tilted his head, mimicking her gestures, learning through observation. Liara marveled at how quickly her child adapted, blending her species' natural awareness with the humans' techniques. As they continued, the weather shifted. A faint storm approached, snowflakes carried on a rising wind. Liara sensed the change immediately. Mara scanned the air, noting the patterns and speed of the approaching gusts. "It's manageable," she said. "We just need to move carefully and use the energy shields to stabilize the path." Liara felt warmth not only from the humans, but from within herself. Knowledge, observation, and empathy had become a source of strength that rivaled even the harshness of the planet. The storm intensified, but the group moved steadily, using energy barriers and careful navigation to reach a plateau overlooking a massive valley. Liara gazed down at the frozen landscape below, awed by its scale. The humans explained how the valley had formed over millennia, shaped by slow energy flows and the movements of ice. Liara listened intently, realizing how much she could learn from these beings whose approach combined intellect, patience, and care. Keel ran ahead briefly, then turned back to check on Liara. She smiled and guided him gently. Myra observed, noting the subtle interplay of trust and learning between mother and child. "Your bond is extraordinary," she said softly, "and the way you're teaching him alongside us, it's remarkable. Your warmth teaches him lessons I cannot alone." Every step reinforced the lessons of the past days. Life could be nurtured, obstacles could be overcome, and intelligence combined with care could achieve extraordinary results. In the valley, they discovered hidden wonders, crystalline formations that glowed faintly from the energy beneath, small creatures adapted to the extreme cold, and patterns in the ice that told stories of the planet's long history. Liara observed carefully, learning from the humans how to interpret the subtle signals, to anticipate changes, and to interact without disturbing the delicate ecosystem. Keel explored enthusiastically, his laughter mingling with the soft hum of the valley. As night fell, the group made camp near a small crystalline ridge. Liara held Keel close, reflecting on everything they had experienced. Humans had brought warmth into their lives, yes, but they had also shared knowledge, observation skills, and patience. Liara realized that true strength was not physical alone. It was the ability to understand, adapt, and care for life in all its forms. Mara and Eli monitored the environment, ensuring the safety of their new friends. Mara knelt beside Liara. "You've learned quickly," she said. "And your child has too. Together, you've discovered how to navigate challenges without fear, using understanding instead." Liara held Keel close, feeling his small heartbeat and the pulse of life around them. She realized that this journey had transformed them. The humans' warmth had not only awakened them from the freeze, but had opened their minds to new possibilities. Keel would grow strong not just in body, but in understanding, guided by intelligence and care from both species. As sleep overtook them, Liara allowed herself to feel safe and hopeful. The humans had become more than allies. They had become teachers, guides, and friends. Through their warmth, both literal and emotional, they had shown the aliens that life's strength lay in connection, observation, and empathy. The following days were filled with continued exploration and learning. Liara and Keel grew more confident, moving across the ice with skill and curiosity. The humans taught them to use subtle energy tools, how to detect hidden flows beneath the surface, and how to anticipate the planet's shifts. In return, Liara shared her species' natural abilities, teaching humans to sense energy patterns that had previously gone unnoticed. Keel flourished. His laughter echoed across the icy plains as he explored, learned, and played. Liara watched him, proud of the resilience, curiosity, and intelligence he displayed. The bond between mother, child, and humans had grown stronger, forming a network of trust and understanding that transcended species. One evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky in soft colors, Liara addressed the humans in her gentle, melodic tone. The translator converted her words. "You have shown us that life can flourish through care, observation, and intelligence. You have given us hope, knowledge, and warmth. For that, we are forever grateful." She pressed a soft kiss to Keel's head, holding him close. The humans stood beside her, their presence steady and comforting. Together, they had faced challenges, learned from one another, and discovered the true power of collaboration. The icy planet, vast and silent outside, seemed less threatening now. Within their circle, life thrived, nurtured by warmth, care, and shared understanding. Liara realized that the humans' arrival had changed everything. They had brought more than life-saving warmth. They had brought knowledge, hope, and a model for cooperation across species. As the night deepened, Liara and her child slept peacefully, secure in the knowledge that they were no longer alone. The humans remained vigilant nearby, guardians not through force, but through care and intelligence. Together, they had created a bond that would guide them through the challenges and discoveries yet to come. And as the icy plains stretched endlessly beyond their camp, a quiet truth settled over the group. Life's greatest strength was not in power or survival alone, but in intelligence, empathy, and the courage to care for others, no matter how different they might be. The galaxy, vast and full of unknown wonders, had witnessed a small but extraordinary act. Humans, with their warmth, creativity, and patience, had bridged the gap between species, showing that the power to save, teach, and inspire transcended biology. Liara and Keel had been preserved by ice, yes, but it was human warmth, combined with curiosity and understanding, that had awakened them fully to life. As dawn approached, the first light touched the crystalline plains, scattering colors across the ice like a kaleidoscope. Liara looked at Mara and Eli, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she felt complete trust and admiration. Her child stirred, reaching out, sensing the steady pulse of human warmth surrounding them. Life was no longer fragile. It was vibrant, resilient, and full of possibilities. The humans, too, felt a quiet pride. They had discovered something remarkable, not just an alien species preserved in ice, but minds and hearts that could learn, adapt, and grow. Humanity's warmth had not only saved lives, but had created a foundation for understanding, trust, and mutual respect. It was a victory without conflict, a triumph of empathy and intelligence. Liara pressed her child close, whispering softly, "We are alive because of warmth, intelligence, and care. And now we can grow." And in that quiet, shimmering valley on a planet of ice and crystal, humans and aliens stood together, not as strangers or enemies, but as partners in life's extraordinary journey. The galaxy would remember this moment not for force or conquest, but for warmth, intelligence, and the courage to care.